Today we're going to learn about present passive infinitives. You remember infinitives so far as present active infinitives. That's the one type of infinitive we've learned, but there are other types, and we're going to learn about number 2 today. All right? But before, of course, we learn about something new, the wise move is always to recall the topic we learned previously. So keeping in mind present active infinitives, before we start on a new topic, let's just do a blank page retrieval. What do you remember about present active infinitives? And so pause the video and take some time to just write down what you remember, and then I'll ask you some guiding questions. All right, here's some guided retrieval. Assuming you've already done some writing on your own, I'm now going to ask you some questions, see if you can answer them. Does present infinitive refer to nouns or verbs? Are we using it? Do we make this form with nouns or verbs? Can you think of an example in English? Maybe create 2 or 3 examples in English. What principal part do we use in Latin to form it? And then finally, when do we use it in Latin? All right, so which of the principal parts? The first one, amo, the second one, amare, the third, amavi, the fourth, amatum, and then when are we going to use this in Latin? How have we seen it used? All right, so pause the video and try and answer all these questions, and then we'll go through them. All right, so here are your answers. You can look them over on your own time. Pause the video and take a look at them. The one I'm going to go over with you is this last one. When do we use it in Latin? Remember, we use it to complete the meaning of certain verbs, debeo, which means I ought, or eubeo, I order, right? So debeo, I ought to do something. We need an infinitive to complete the meaning. I ought to do what, right? So I ought debeo amare, to love. I ought videre, to see. So it completes the meaning of debeo. With eubeo, a word we learned last chapter, it also completes the meaning, but eubeo takes an accusative first, right? So I order the farmer to walk, ambulare, right? Farmer would be accusative, agricolum. I order the sailor to, it's another good word, to prepare the ship, right? So parare and nautem parare, eubeo nautem parare. So again, this is going to take accusative direct object and then an infinitive to complete its meaning. However, we can also sometimes see an infinitive functioning almost as a noun, as either a direct object or a subject. This is something we haven't gone over as much, but let's just look at a couple of quick things. How would you translate amare est bonum? To love is good, right? Loving is good, right? To love is good. So it's kind of the verb almost as a noun here. And then here it's acting as a direct object. You're saying I love, and the question is, what do you love? I love to think, cogitare. So that's why we kind of think of it as an objective genitive. Sorry, an objective infinitive. Objective infinitive, subjective infinitive. These are some ways in which we might see the infinitive pop up in Latin or in English, really. All right. So now let's learn a new topic, present passive infinitive. So if the present passive infinitive of love is to love in English, try and think of what the present passive infinitive of love might be. Pause the video and try and think of this on your own, all right? I didn't give an answer. So the present passive infinitive would be to be loved. Right? So to love is the present active, to be loved is the present passive. To see, to be seen, present passive. To eat, to be eaten, present passive. All right, that gives you a little familiarity with English. Let's see how we're going to make it look in Latin. So before, to form the present active, we just took the second principal part and left it as it was, right? Vocare, amare, ambulare. If we want to make that form passive, what we're going to do is we're going to, oh my God, we're not going to subtract the RE. We're going to subtract the E and add an I with a macron. My bad. I was typing that too quickly. Yeah, so you subtract the E and add an I. So what is that going to look like? Let's do a little practice. Subtract the E, add an I. See if you can do these on your own. Pause the video, try and form their present passives, and think about how you translate them afterwards, right? I'll do number 1 for you right now. Ko-gi-tar. Right? All we do is drop the E. Now we're going to add an I, so kogitari. And how am I going to translate it now? Well, now it's to be thought, not to think. Okay, so try that with the others, and then we'll look at the answers. Pause the video so you have time to do it. Here are the answers if you want to look them over. Parare becomes parari, drop the E, add an I. Ubere becomes uberi, drop the E, add an I. Tenere becomes teneri, drop the E, the last E, add an I. All right, those are the translations. All right, there's some more practice that you can do, that you're going to do as part of your homework in the textbook. It's listed on the portal page. Hope this has been helpful. Just before we leave, maybe I'll give you a couple examples of what it might look like in a sentence, right? Debes. You might say you have to be, you ought to be. Amare, right? So debes amare, you ought to be loved, as opposed to you ought to love, right? Like somebody ought to love you, right? Or you ought to be seen, not just heard, seen, right? Videre debes. So we can see how it might be used in an English sentence or in a Latin sentence there, right? Just like we use the present passive. The present active infinitive. All right. I'll see you in class soon.